Hey everybody, it's Tommy Espenschied of the Espenschied Herman Group. And a couple weeks ago, I talked about a listing from spring of 2022 that we'd picked up. It was an expired listing that had, finally listed for 1.75, gone unsold, and we sold it for just over 2 million. And in that video, I discussed the listing process and how we took it to market. But today I want to talk about how we actually sourced that listing. And it's funny because I did not have my listing agent hat on. I was actually working as a buyer's agent. The client was a client of my mother, Ann's, and obviously any client of hers, Wendy's, Megan's, Paula's kind of falls under the Espenschied Herman Group team effort. And so, we had these clients who we'd actually transacted off market with before. And we had a list that my mom had shared with me of kind of a wish list of what these buyers wanted. They'd actually gone in and toured a house that they really fell in love with and were just a little slow to move their feet on the purchase. But after having seen them kind of fall in love with that house, it gave me a really good idea of what exactly they were looking for. And this is why, as a buyer's agent, it's so important to see a couple houses and really identify what your buyer's top priorities are, because they might have a taste for something that didn't come up in that initial conversation. So anyway, armed with that knowledge of what they were looking for, I actually did this process, which I do on a weekly basis, kind of randomly in my free time, but I more importantly do it to keep running database of listing potential for future clients. So what I did in this particular instance was I took a specific set of criteria on price point, square footage, area, and I believe those were the only three criteria I narrowed it down by. But then I searched on the MLS for expired, withdrawn, or canceled listings that met this criteria. I downloaded that list, which consisted of about 150 listings. And from there, it's kind of funny because oftentimes you'll be looking at the MLS, and if you're looking at backdated entries, you'll see a lot of things that appear expired but did not in fact expire. They sold, weren't removed from the MLS for whatever reason, and so they looked like they expired, but they'd actually sold, a month prior or something like that. So from there, I had to kind of go through the data, eliminate the ones that hadn't actually expired, hadn't withdrawn, hadn't canceled, and had actually sold whether on or off market since that date. So from there, I had about 40 or 50 credible targets that fit a really general criteria niche. But obviously, I had that more specific feel for what they were looking for. So from there, I went into each individual listing and actually looked at kind of those more nuanced attributes or amenities that you wouldn't find listed in the MLS criteria. And I found those mostly through photographs as well as descriptions of the property. So from that list of about 40 or 50 properties, I narrowed it down to 4 viable targets for that buyer. Once we had the 4, I sent them on to Anne, my mother, as they were her specific clients. And she forwarded them along to her clients, and they kind of went, talked about what really seemed to be a good fit. And we landed on the one that ended up becoming the listing that we sold. It really met a lot of their criteria. Kind of when I was narrowing down that list of 40 or 50, I was looking for matches that matched 70% or more of what they were looking for. And this one just stood out as a real front runner, a real potential opportunity for them. From there, I was actually able to source the owner's contact information And it's so important here that, if you do find a phone number, you have to make sure that that is not registered on a do not call list. I think with, agents can get a little overzealous with their cold calls, and you don't want to be an annoyance or an inconvenience to either side of any transaction you're involved in. So naturally, you don't want to call somebody that's specifically asking you not to call them. Anyway, this particular person they were not registered on do not call lists. And I'd actually noticed that the property had rented in the past, and it was coming to a point where it looked like that lease might be ending soon. So I reached out, left a voicemail. Long story short, they called back. They had a lot of interest as the lease was in fact expiring, and they were looking to take it on the market soon. So we were actually able to get our buyer in there within the next week, way before the property hit the market, and they were able to take a personal tour of the property. From there, they determined that it wasn't exactly what they were looking for, but the fact that they were able to get that preview of the property was, massively beneficial in helping them determine what they wanted. The fact that they were able to see a property in such a frenzied market and kind of see this off-market opportunity on their own with, a clear mind was a huge benefit for them. And I know it's something that we like to practice with a lot of our buyer clients, to just kind of get creative and find, potential opportunities that may not have existed before. So if you're an agent, I really encourage you to try this process out. It can be definitely a time-consuming process. It's just one of those nerdy things that I kind of like to do, but you never know what opportunity might come from it, and what doors you could open for both the buyer and the seller in that transaction. If you're a buyer, you're looking to get into the market, haven't reached out to agents, please give us a call, because we'd love to work with you and help you find exactly what you're looking for. So I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment, share with somebody who might like it, and like the video. Thanks again, and keep an eye out for our next video.